Hi, everybody. I'm Doug. I am a triple winner, probably more. I don't know, probably, everything. But I just want to thank the people that got me here. This is the first time I've been to this meeting, and I'm just so grateful. And if you're new, just keep coming, and hopefully I say something that might resonate a little bit with you. So, so um, let me start by saying that I am a triple winner, and so I picked up a drink. I started in the beverage club first. Um, I drank from 10 to 25. I'm sick. I just turned 60 back in October, and so I've been sober for 34 years. I can't even believe it when I say that, but when the work really started, the beverage club I'll be forever grateful for. It got me, it was the ante to get in the game. But for me, um, it wasn't until I found ACA that I really found some of the answers that I was struggling with my whole life. Um, so I'm the youngest of seven kids in an Irish Catholic family, and I've never done this before. I used to speak from the podium quite a bit in the beverage club, but I never did the whole recording thing. But I you know I was just so stuck. I didn't have a voice in my family of origin, being the youngest and stuff. And so, it was monkey see, monkey do, and I just kind of picked up a drink. My parents used to have a lot of whoopee parties, how it relates in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. It talks about that in there. And but luckily along the journey, I played sports. I grew up in the Boston area. I live on Cape Cod, Mass now. Um, but I grew up in the Boston area, and if you didn't play hockey, and I grew up with Bobby Orr, right? So if you didn't play hockey, there was something wrong. And so I think hockey, like looking back on it, kind of saved me a bit. Um, and so you know, So I don't want to talk too much about my drinking. I want to really talk about the recovery and what's happened to me, over the last few years with ACA. But I got to give you guys a little bit of a background. Um, you know, I crashed and burned at 25, and I got sober. And so 2 years into sobriety, I met my ex-wife, who I realized because of this program that I married my mother. You know. Good person, but add booze, forget it, right? And so it was a crazy alcoholic marriage for 17 years, but I got two beautiful girls out of it. I just became a grandfather actually back in December 7th, the day of infamy, Pearl Harbor Day. And she's out in Michigan, and I'm actually getting in my truck on Sunday morning to drive out there. I haven't seen her yet, and I can't wait to do that. And that's another gift of the program. Um, I'm really looking forward to that. And because my relationship with my girls has, it's all about relationships, right? For me, anyways. And, but back up a little bit. I made my way to Al-Anon, and Al-Anon's where I found out about this program. But, um, you know, uh, I found out about the disease of alcoholism, and it's a family disease, and breaking that generational cycle of alcoholism. And so I remember a guy at my we have a men's Al-Anon group on Cape Cod, beautiful group. And one of the guys, he's a doc, retired doc, and he chaired a meeting one night, and he did a pictorial essay of his life, and he passed it around the room, and we talked about ACA, and it kind of hit me. I had gone to ACA along my journey in the beverage club, but what I heard was a lot of the blame game and stuff. And then I said it wasn't really for me, you know what I mean? That's what I kind of heard. And but it wasn't until I went to that meeting, and then I started. It was pre-pandemic. I don't really remember my exact date. And we talk about sobriety dates. My sobriety date is 6/1/89 in the beverage club, but the date here is a little foggy for me because I was going, and then I was looking for a sponsor, and I couldn't find a sponsor in ACA until it was the pandemic. Is really what changed. And I started going to this meeting out of Providence, Rhode Island on Zoom. And that's where I got and when I asked my sponsor, because I do have three sponsors, I have a beverage club sponsor, and I have an Al-Anon sponsor, and I have what we call a fellow traveler here. And that's what he said to me. When I asked him to be my sponsor, he said, "Why don't we just do the work together?" And that was the first time like that somebody kind of was like kind and loving, because like in the hockey locker room, I wasn't getting any of that, in my family of origin, it was the constant pound and ridicule, that kind of stuff. That's what I grew up with, a lot of sarcasm, and it was always like suck it up, buttercup kind of thing, and today's page, I love today's page in the Daily Reader. If you have it, identity, because I feel like a little by slow, I'm getting to my true identity by doing the work in here. Um, but let me back up. I kind of losing my train of thought a little bit here, but so I got to this Providence meeting, and I knew as soon as I heard this guy speak, I knew he was going to be my sponsor. He had the message that I was looking for. He talked a lot about God, and and I needed more God. I knew I needed more God in my life. I wanted peace in my life, and so I asked this gentleman to be my sponsor, like I said, and he said we're going to do the work together. So we did the steps. And my men's group, I have a men's group in ACA too. And my men's group, somebody got a hold of, there's a syllabus um, from this woman. She's a Yale doctor, and she put together a 20-week syllabus to go through the steps in ACA. And that was a tremendous help because it was like taking a college class for me, and it was clear, concise direction. I need that um, to focus. And I got to the heart of the matter when I did the steps here. And the two glaring defects that came up were control and abandonment, like many of us have. That's a pretty common thread through many of us. And I didn't even realize it because, I was so I was so disassociated. I do a physical therapy. I used to work in a hospital, and so give me 20 patients a day, right? And I was so dissociated with work, and because I ran with work and relationships and like right, you name it, I did it. I didn't do the gambling thing, thank God, but because a couple of my friends had got in trouble with that, and but I realized I definitely disassociated with work, you know. And it wasn't until like doing the step work, and I had a bout of depression, and I didn't even know what it was, but it was all this stuff that I had been running from, you know, my childhood, that 10-year-old that decided that it was a good idea to pick up a drink, and going back to that little kid, too, I didn't mention this, but I used to smoke marijuana before school and steal scotch from my parents and be drinking it like, before eighth grade. And so it was awful. I think back, I look at my nieces and nephews now and I go, oh my God, they're so young, and I can't imagine it now, but anyways, just a little window into the past a little bit too, and how I just associated right from the get-go with drinking, and then I brought it into my sobriety with work and having the big house, and I had and so when the marriage went south, because pain is a great motivator for me. I've heard people say that too. I had to go through a lot of pain, and when I went through the divorce is when that childhood abandonment, when I really found it. And I lost the big house, and I'm sober. I'm like what was I, like 21 years sober, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this has happened, you know, but it did. And I was treating a patient one time at the hospital that I worked at. And I was working on this guy's back and he's laying on his stomach. And he goes, oh, I saw your name in the bankruptcy. I saw your name in the foreclosure. And I wanted to crawl under the table. But maybe it was God's way of I needed a dose of humility. So that's what happened to me. I can't make any of this stuff up. And so I had to lose everything in order to gain everything. And then God found it in his grace to get me to this program. And like I said, and then I did the steps and then I really found the solution and just so, so grateful to be able to have, have some spiritual discernment, that not blaming anybody in my world, just understanding my life. And I had to get quiet and God is in the pause for me because I was so fast before. I play ice hockey. I like to ski in the trees. I like to still scare the shit out of myself a little bit, but I don't do it as much anymore. My body, I've been hard on my body. But I guess I was just running from that scared little kid, I don't know. Um, so, I don't know how do you jam in, 34 years of recovery, I hope I said something along the way, but I want to hear from some other people, but like little by slow, it's taken me a minute, you know, but the good news is too, let me just back up and talk about depression a little bit because it's a scary topic and I remember people talking about it in the beverage club and I said, "Oh, that's never going to happen to me." And guess what? It did. I was paralyzed. In fact, I wanted to check out and the only thing that saved my butt was that I wanted to walk my girls down the aisle and I got that opportunity a year ago October, which was just I had a tear in my eye the whole time. It was unbelievable. And now with this grandchild and stuff, I would have missed all this. You know what I mean? These life events. And so it was pretty scary, but God bless anybody that's on an antidepressant. I don't judge at all, but I just got to tell you, my experience with that that group of medications is it made me a lot worse. And God bless anybody that's getting help, like talk to your doc. I'm not giving any advice on that, but I'm just telling you my experience is that drug Latuda, it almost took me out. And it scares the shit out of me to think back on how bad it was. And that's oh God, that was like what 28 years sober. So knock on wood. I don't take anything today. And I had to do the work in here though to really get to the heart of the matter. And what I do today is I practice quiet time in the morning, and I try to let God into my life, set my intention for the day. We talk a lot about mind, body, spirit in here. I know I do. And if one of those things like that three-legged stool thing, and if one of those things are out of balance, then the stool's out of balance. And that little thing for me um has been so important. But if I don't do the physical component and the spiritual, then the other thing's out of whack, And I've been really working on the spiritual stuff and getting to God. And I call it my spiritual hockey bag full of tools. And I know what works for me today. Like I was up at Burke Mountain in Vermont the other day skiing and playing in the snow does something to that little kid. Um, I'm just so grateful that I found a way out, and I want to put a little plug in for IFS therapy too, because talking about the parts and going back and healing that little kid and going to the loving parent, that form of therapy I found through my men's group, and has really helped a lot too, is being that kind, loving parent to myself because I grew up in a home where it was like suck it up buttercup, I'll give you something to cry about, you know what I mean? And I mean, I remember a couple times being knocked out in high school hockey and, just sit down the end of the bench, do a little smelling salt, suck it up, go back out. That's the environment that I grew up in. And it wasn't like I love the step book in here because it says now take a gentleness break. What the hell was that? You know? It gave me permission to take a little break after the fifth step. Oh my goodness. And then really understanding the 11th step, which is my favorite step of all. And I'm just so grateful again for this process, for you guys giving me an opportunity. I hope I said something that resonates with somebody. I could probably talk for more, but I want to hear other people um, share something. And I don't know exactly how this meeting works, but I think I'll leave it there, and that's what I got.